Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 webinar series. I am Tim Parmeter, your host, and we are very excited today to talk about a franchise that has a rare ability to thrive in both good economic times and bad, a franchise that has a steady stream of residual income, multiple revenue streams, and additional lines of businesses that their owners can add down the road. Before we get to our guest, we'd like to share with everyone who we are. Fran Coach is a search firm dedicated to working with individuals interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with over 500 of the top franchisors in the country, spanning nearly 60 industries. We have two basic goals. Number one is simply to educate clients enough to determine if franchise ownership is the right path. If it is, goal number two is to help each client find the absolute best franchise for them to own. There's never ever any fee for our service. So that's a little bit about us. But we know that's not why people are here. We are here to chat with our guest today, and that is the Vice President of Franchise Sales for the AtWork Group, Mr. Cliff Harbor. Cliff, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Tim. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
We are excited and appreciate you taking some time. I know this is a very busy time in the franchise world, and especially for an opportunity like you guys have that is just booming at the moment. So we'll appreciate your time and just kind of we'll just kind of jump in. We'll throw you a bunch of questions as we go along, but very simply, just give us a little scoop on the AtWork Group. What the heck do you guys do? And give us maybe a bit of the history.
Definitely, yeah. And it's we're a temporary staffing franchise. We've got a couple of different segments where you can focus on temporary work, or you can do executive placement stuff too. But it's interesting times. The elephant in the room, the whole virus going on right now. I'm busier than I've been in a long time, because I think folks have realized that a lot of the jobs that we provide temporary workers for, they can't be done remotely. They're not executive style jobs. They're order pullers. They're packers, driving forklifts, unloading and loading trucks, things of that nature. So my offices they're still, no one's going to tell you they're setting any sales records right now, but everybody's kind of maintaining. We, like I say, we're a temporary staffing franchise. We don't require any previous industry experience. Most of our owners have come to us, they kind of know what staffing is, but they don't know how to do it. That's our job. We teach you how to do it. It's kind of a turnkey type of franchise. We teach you how to do it, give you all the software, and then once you're open up and running your business, we do all that backroom function for you. So we handle, the financial part of it and so forth.
Gotcha. What's I guess for folks that don't know, I think it would be a little staggering to see some of the kind of industry numbers of when you think of temp physicians, because probably I'm going to guess most of us on this webinar and watching it live and down the road, maybe it's been a while since we've had a temporary job, maybe high school, or we're working through college or something. But talk a little bit about how massive that industry is and the need for it.
Yeah, it's huge. It's one of those industries that it operates, kind of in the background, if you will. It's not really in your face. If you've been a temp or hired temps, you probably know a little bit about it, but otherwise it just kind of operates in the background. But it is a gigantic industry. It's around $160 billion industry. And again, back to, the news, we're expecting to see an even bigger boom, once they figure out the magic bullet for the virus. People, maybe they were a server and they want a career change. They're going to be going to our offices. Other businesses who maybe they've had to let a bunch of people go and now they need to restaff. They're going to be calling up our offices. So it's a gigantic industry. unless you're right there in the face of it, you may not know much about until you talk to someone like me or you.
And never going to go away, right? So again, those are a lot of those are positions that can't, like you mentioned, can't be necessarily remote, can't be, they're not going to go away no matter what's going on in the economy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even with automation, things like that, you're going to need people to run those automated pieces of equipment and things of that nature. So we really don't see that there's an end in sight.
So you've got the temporary side of things, right? That's huge, but that's not. Your AtWork owners have an opportunity to do even more than that, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The personnel portion that revolves around the temporary work, like we've been kind of chatting about. The search portion, this allows people, maybe they've spent the last 20 years in corporate America, they've built a big network of people that they know all over the country. One of the biggest benefits they get under the search model is the territory boundaries drop. So if my owners have a friend that's a decision maker at a company across the country, they might call them up and say, hey, I need a new director of IT, or I need a new CFO, or things of that nature. So the biggest difference between these two models, the personnel are temporary assignments, search are permanent assignments. So, and again, the territory boundaries drop under that portion. So we do want brand new owners to start with personnel because, kind of the way you started the call, it is ongoing residual income, so the paydays are going to come along a lot more often. Where in the search model, they might tell you they need that new director of IT, and it might take you a couple of months to find that perfect fit. So we want our owners to start with personnel, but then if you'd like to supplement your business, you're welcome to go into the search portion.
Gotcha. And again, like to that, with starting with the personnel stuff, there's just going to be so many more of those, right? There's only so many directors of IT a company's going to need to hire in a given year, but you may
You're
need
exactly right.
dock workers or whatever it might be for that. So that's awesome. And then you kind of discussed the position. Are there any industry restrictions, or what does that look like for owners to go find those clients?
For industry restrictions, I wouldn't say restrictions. We have some what we might call pretty strong suggestions, and those are just kind of common sense type ones. So like if one of my owners has one of their customers come to them and say, hey, I need someone to wash the windows on my skyscraper, we would caution our owner to tell that customer, sorry, I don't have anyone that could do that, because it's a very dangerous job. If there was an accident and that person was seriously injured or killed on the job, it would really mess up, not to mention it's a horrible thing, but it would really mess up workers' compensation insurance and things like that. So I wouldn't call it restrictions. There are certain guidelines and areas that we would like to see our owners focus on, certain areas that we would like to see our owners avoid. So that's kind of the way that looks.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And so, but again, you talk about kind of those guidelines and suggestions. That's also the whole point of a franchise, right? That you're able to tap into that experience. And again, you guys have been around doing this for a long, long time. Why would you start a franchise and not pay attention to what the franchisor is suggesting and kind of guiding you along the way?
Right.
Which goes back to that common sense. And if common sense was common, it would just be common sense. So we kind of need those. We need those guidelines from time to time. So
right.
Back to the franchisor, you kind of touched on this with things that you're going to guide them along the way. You also are going to do a ton behind the scenes for them, but share with us a little bit more about what that looks like for an owner.
Right. Yeah. Aside from teaching owners how to do it and the support and the software and things like that, one of our primary functions is all the backroom work that we do, backroom / accounting, we'll call it. So when my owner goes out and they talk to their customer and they uncover a need for a temporary worker, they've got somebody back in the office that is looking for potential workers, so it's you're kind of a matchmaker, if you will. One person's looking for the jobs for the people, another person is looking for the people for the jobs. You put them together. So once you find an opening for a person and a person for that opening, well, then they got to get paid. So, for instance, the temporary worker might make $10 an hour or $15 an hour, something along those lines. Well, my owner is going to charge that customer $15 an hour or $20 an hour. They're going to charge that customer something above what those workers make. Well, then that person has to get paid. So we're going to do that for our owners. We do all the appropriate tax withholdings, whether it be state or federal tax. Even if someone's having their check garnished for whatever reason, we're going to process the garnishments and then send the funds to the state when it's time. But the biggest part of this function is we pay this labor out of our payroll accounts. So, my owners don't have to have a big payroll bank account set aside to pay these temporary workers, and then they have to float that debt until they get paid, because we're going to do that for them. So we pay the temporary workers every week. And, one of the things that my owners are going to have to negotiate with their customers are also payment terms, whether it be due upon receipt, net 15, maybe net 30 payment terms to give them time to get the invoice through accounts payable. Well, that can, if you get to the point where you're putting a whole bunch of people to work and everyone's on net 30 terms, that can be quite a lot of money. So we're paying this labor. There's no finance charge or anything like that. We're also paying our our owners that margin. A lot of times it's even before we receive payment from their customer. So it really frees up a lot of their cash flow.
And you mentioned that payroll float is huge, right? So that's going to greatly lessen how much an owner needs to kind of have sitting on, in addition to just their own operating capital. And we'll touch on kind of the investment side in a second. But the longer that person is employed, right, the more the AtWork owner is getting paid, right? So kind of behooves them, the better job you can find for that person for that position. Your client is happier, the employee is happier because they've got a job and they're not searching again, and then the AtWork owner is also happy because they're going to continue to get paid over and over and over. Correct?
Right. That's right. Yeah, there are other models out there that focus on day labor, and that's not what we do. We would like to. We're not going to tell an owner they can't do day labor, but we would prefer them to find several days, several weeks, several month assignments for people, because just like you say, it is ongoing residual income.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's as good as it gets, right? So you've got that. So then that's kind of the operational support from the franchisor, and you kind of alluded to this, what the office looks like, and the kind of the what you're looking for in an owner, but share that with us a little bit more too.
Sure. Yeah, most times the role of the owners most time like to take on the business development role. And, most of our owners are going to get real involved in the community, Chamber of Commerce, networking groups, Rotary clubs, different organizations where you can get to know decision makers and, hopefully minimize the cold calls. Nobody likes a cold call, so let's make it a warm call, or even better yet, a referral. But, if you don't like to be in the office, this may be a great job for you, because you're in the office some, but you get to go out and visit with your customers also. So it's going out, building relationships, building rapport and trust with those customers. And, if you take good care of those customers, they're going to call you back again. We keep going back to the residual income part of it. If you do a good service for your customer is going to call you again, we hope. But, I think I already mentioned it's a little bit like a matchmaker. You're finding employment opportunities for people and people to fill those opportunities. I've got a lot of owners who have come to us that, maybe they've said, their first career, they built their nest egg, all that kind of thing. Their second career, they want to help people. They want to give back to the community. It's, It's not much better way to do that than helping people put food on their table, or maybe finding new job opportunities that maybe they never thought they would qualify for. And at the same time, you're helping the businesses in your area, fill the employment gaps that they've got. So you're kind of helping on both sides. So it can be a pretty gratifying industry also.
Absolutely, right. And again, to me, the cool thing is both in good times and in bad, right? So it's either, right now there's, a very sad number of people that are searching for work, right? But then, heck, a year ago was the complete opposite, right? So companies are struggling to find the good talent, and right now you're kind of trying to weed through all of the talent to find the best fit. So, so that owner's taking on that, typically that kind of business development and kind of customer facing role. You'd mentioned this earlier, then you're usually going to hire one person, at least one person at the beginning that's actually kind of working on the candidate side, right?
That's right. Yeah, they, it can be run, it needs to be run by two people, one person looking for the jobs, one person looking for the workers. If you had a third person to begin with, you'd probably have an extra set of boots on the ground helping with the business development side of it. Anything more than that would be pretty aggressive. I do have some owners who have, probably double or maybe even triple that number of employees, but especially to begin with, it's not really necessary. So small office space, small internal staff usually.
Gotcha. And that was the other thing I was gonna add, right? So small office, kind of, storefront type, not executive suite type of situation. So just for that visibility piece, right, for the people coming in to interview.
We do allow executive suites. It's not encouraged. We don't encourage retail space because typically the rents are much higher in retail. Most owners will find a spot in a business park. There is very rarely any customers coming to the office. The people coming to the office are the people looking for work. So you need to make it easy for them to find you. If you can, tell them to, it's across the street from a landmark that most people are familiar with or things like that, but usually it's an office park type setting.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. This all sounds fantastic, right? But let's get down to the important stuff, right? What'll it cost, man? What'll it cost? How do we, talk to us a little bit, just I know we got to, be a little short on this, but these are things straight out of the FDD. So kind of maybe give us a quick overview of that.
Sure. Yeah, these are a lot of averages. It's the franchise fee is $35,000. It's not listed on this table here, but we do give a 20% veteran discount. But these are a lot of ranges, but you've got a lot of autonomy in this model. For instance, office equipment and supplies, we have listed at $15,000 to $20,000. If I were doing this thing myself, I feel like I could do it for less than that. But we'd rather paint maybe a little bit higher picture, and then maybe the number comes in a little bit lower, and you're pleasantly surprised. But we also build into this number 6 to 9 months of operating funds. And operating funds can be anything from paying your rent, to paying your utilities, to paying that other person we talked about. But the total is usually between 150 to just over 200,000. A lot of that has to do with geography. If you're in New York or San Francisco, you're obviously going to pay a lot more rent than if you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it's, things like that need to be considered. We also have some additional money in there to pay internal staff. I think I may have mentioned that. But recently I've had some owners come to me and they think I need to lower this number a bit because, like I say, you've got a lot of autonomy and ability to watch expenses during startup. But this is probably average 154 to 231.
Well, and the one thing that I really appreciate about this, and just for the people maybe looking at franchising for the first time, it's not about how much does it take to get open, right? It's
right.
And the standard for additional funds, it tends to be more 3 months, right? And you guys have in 6 to 9 months where that's really padded, plus there's a line item in there for staff payroll.
Right.
To me, that shows the commitment to the franchisor to make sure that their owners are successful. It's not about getting started. It's about, again, being able to be successful, and kind of happy and not ridiculously stressful, thinking, oh my gosh, we're after the first month and we ran out of money already.
Right.
We're helping folks minimally looking at 6 to 9 months. So
right.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And go ahead, but then tell us a little. Obviously, everybody wants to know, as best we can, and just kind of clarify for folks again looking at this for the first time. Franchisors can never ever tell you how much money you're going to make. What we can do is kind of look at what's the history of all of their owners to kind of, again, gauge some averages with this. So
sure.
So maybe kind of speak to this just a little bit.
Yeah, and one other thing I was going to mention just before we jump into this is, and maybe it's clear, maybe it's not, but you're going to start making money as soon as you start putting people to work. So, it's not a continuous bleeding of funds over those, over those first few months. You're probably not going to make enough money to pay all of your own bills, but you're going to make some. And then the next month, you're going to make a little bit more than that. And then the next month, more than that. So break even. Again, averages. We have to talk in averages here in the franchise world. Most people are going to see break even in 14 to 16 months. If you look at our franchise disclosure document at the time it was published, we had about 90 offices. I think we're at about 97, 98 right now. But if you average all of those, even the ones that were brand new at the time the document was published, average sales annually is about 3.5 million. If you look at offices that have been in existence over 5 years, that number jumps up to 6.9 million. So again, back to kind of the way we started the conversation, there's a ton of money in this industry, and a lot of times it's a lot more than people realize.
And for, again, if we can, why don't I literally back up right to $150,000 to $200,000 investment, and again, including all that operating capital that can turn into that. I think it tends to kind of blow people away when you realize you can grow it to that level.
Right. Yep. And I've, it's kind of like on those diet commercials, the small print says results are not typical, but I've got some single offices out there doing $15 million a year. So it's there.
Awesome. Well, cool. What else would you like us to know about the AtWork group that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
Like I say, it's a pretty neat industry, especially if you like helping people, helping businesses and so forth. I've got a lot of owners who have come to us because of the work-life balance. One owner pops into mind. He was a road warrior, had some small kids. He was missing his wife and watching his family grow up and things like that. So this job it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday most times. There's no inventory to keep track of. You don't have to stay late and do inventory twice a year like maybe you do in some other areas. But it's it's helping people. It's finding jobs for the people for the jobs, putting them together. All of our systems are web-based. So just in case you get that phone call at 7 o'clock at night saying, hey, send me out somebody on this third shift assignment, you can pull up the website from your living room there. You can make a couple of phone calls. You can put out those fires. So it's an awesome business. And if it's piqued your interest at all, we'd love to speak with you about it.
That lifestyle thing comes up, I think, also more than people realize. You're coming out of the corporate, you're talking about, the badge of honor is what's your title and how much is your salary.
Right.
And as you can see, there's a lot of money to be made. But more times than not, people are really focused on the lifestyle, being in control over the time, and seeing your family, doing fun things, just like kind of just being able to live life and on your own terms is a huge piece of this. So
right.
definitely the case with this type of model. So this is awesome, man. Cliff, I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We thank everybody for joining us today and getting a little educated on the AtWork group, and hopefully this will enlighten those interested in franchise ownership to some of the amazing possibilities that are out there. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a franchise owner for the AtWork group or any of the other 500 plus franchises we are partnered with, then let's schedule a call. Here's all the fun ways to reach out, call, email, find us online, social media, anywhere where you want to track us down. We're pretty easy to find. We'd love to chat with you. Again, there's never any fee for our service. So we encourage you to take that first step today to help create your better tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, and we look forward to connecting again soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.